What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 144 of the Idiotic Sports Talk. I'm your host, Liam Gavin, coming to you live from my dining room. And today I want to give you all the Week 11 recap in the NFL. A lot of action, a lot of drama, a lot of suspense, as usual. So make sure you watch this video if you want to get caught up in case you missed anything. We're going to start with the Thursday game. The Titans take care of the Packers 27-17. Ryan Tannehill, 333 passing, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Derrick Henry had 87 rushing yards and a touchdown, but he also threw a 40-yard touchdown pass to tight end Austin Hooper, who wound up catching another touchdown pass later on that night, and the rookie receiver Traylon Burks, 7 catches for 111 yards. As for Aaron Rodgers, 227 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and the rookie wide receiver Christian Watson, 4 catches, 48 yards, and 2 scores. So the Titans moved to 7-3 with a win on the road at Lambeau Field. They've now won 7 of their last 8 games, and they only had 88 rushing yards on the ground total, but Ryan Tannehill lit up the Packers defense in the pass game, which was something good and pleasant to see if you're a Titans fan, because the Titans receiving game was really bad in the beginning of the year, but the last couple of weeks, they seem to have gotten it going. The Titans offense had 425 total yards, and the Titans defense is one of the best in the league against the run. They only gave up 56 total rushing yards to the Packers run game. And the stats for Aaron Rodgers, they looked good, but watching the game, he overthrew and underthrew a lot of his wide open receivers. The Packers offense had 283 total yards, and they failed to run the ball. But despite an awful season, the rookie wide receiver Christian Watson has been balling out. The last 2 weeks, he had 5 touchdown catches, and I thought his game against my Cowboys was a fluke, but it turns out that it wasn't. And the Packers have now lost 6 of their last 7 games, which really pisses me off as a Cowboys fan, because they shouldn't have lost that game. But, oh well, that's in the past now. Can't dwell on it. And the Packers are going to need a miracle to save their season, as they're 4-7. On to the Sunday games. Falcons beat the Bears 27-24. Marcus Mariota, 131 passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He also had a rushing touchdown. Rookie receiver Drake London had a touchdown catch. And as for Bears QB Justin Fields, 153 passing, a touchdown, an interception. He also had 85 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Running back David Montgomery, 67 rushing yards and a touchdown. He also had 3 catches for 54 yards. So the Falcons moved to 5-6 with a bounce-back win. Marcus Mariota had no turnovers, and the offense was able to get going in the run game. And the Falcons were down 1 point, 17-7. But as soon as the Bears scored, they kicked it off. And one of the best returners of all time, in my opinion, Cordell Patterson, gets it and runs it back to the house, which swung the momentum for the Falcons. And the Falcons were able to ball out on all sides of the ball, which was offense, defense, and special teams. As for the Bears, they lose another close game to lose their 4th straight game on the season. Justin Fields, he had a good game, but he did throw an interception towards the end, which sealed the game for the Falcons. And, they're a young team. They still need a lot to work on. And who knows? Maybe we'll see them next year. They'll bounce back. Bears are now 3-8. The next game is the Eagles beating the Colts 17-16. Jalen Hurts, 190 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions, 86 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown, and a fumble. As for receiver Devontae Smith, 6 catches for 78 yards. Matt Ryan and the Colts, 213 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Jonathan Taylor, 84 rushing yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. And Michael Pittman Jr., 6 catches for 75 yards. So the Eagles bounce back after a tough loss last week. They go to 9-1 on the season, but it was far from easy. They were down 10 points in the 4th quarter, but were able to prevail and outscored the Colts 14-3 in that 4th quarter. Jalen Hurts was able to lead his offense down the field to get the go-ahead touchdown with 1:20 left as he ran it into the end zone. And as for the Colts, they almost pulled up the upset, but their kicker missed a field goal, which most likely would have won them the game. This happened earlier in the game, and the Colts were just unable to get points in the red zone. It led to field goals. They were unable to get touchdowns, and that's a big part of it. They were able to drive down the field, but couldn't get 6 or 7 points. And let me tell you, Jeff Saturday's Colts, they play tough. I mean, they're not going to back down. A lot of people were discrediting Jeff Saturday as a coach, saying that he can't coach because he's never coached in the NFL. But he's proven to everyone that he's not that bad of a coach as we thought we are. Unfortunately, the Colts are 4 wins, 6 losses, and 1 tie on the season. Next, the Patriots beat the Jets 10-3. Mac Jones, 246 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Running back Ramondre Stevenson, 6 catches for 56 yards. Jets QB, Zach Wilson, 77 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And Denzel Mims, 2 catches for 35 yards. So the Patriots sweep their divisional rival and have now won 14 straight against the Jets to go to 6-4 on the season. And the Patriots' offense was awful, but, there's more than just offense in the game. There's 2 more sides of the ball. There's defense and special teams who both did their thing. The Patriots defense had 4 sacks and only gave up 136 total yards. And the Patriots special teams were able to seal the game as they got a punt with about 20 seconds left and returned it to the house and won them the game. And I'm sorry, Jets fans. It was a tough loss for you guys, but Bill Belichick and the Patriots still own you guys. And the Jets defense balled out with 6 sacks, but got no help from their offense. Zach Wilson was absolutely terrible. He had no turnovers, but he only threw for 77 yards and was 9 of 22 passing. The Jets had more punts with 10 punts than completions with 9. And I saw another stat that read that the Jets in the second half, their offense only averaged 2 inches a play, which is absolutely nuts. I was mind blown by that. And when Wilson was asked at the post-game press conference if he let the defense down, he replied with no. It's just not a good look if you're a Jets fan. The Jets are young and a very talented team, but their quarterback could be holding them back. Jets are now 6-4. Next, the Commanders beat the Texans 23-10. Taylor Heineke, 191 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Antonio Gibson, 72 rushing yards. And receiver Curtis Samuel had a rushing touchdown. As for Davis Mills, 169 passing, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. And Brandon Cooks, 3 grabs for 70 yards. So the Commanders dominate the Texans to go above 500 with a 6-5 record. And the Commanders have won 5 of their last 6 games with Taylor Heineke replacing the injured Carson Wentz at quarterback. And the Commanders' defense set the tone of the game with a pick 6 on the second play of the game. And they also got another interception later in the game and also recorded 5 sacks. As for the Texans, they could not do anything on offense, and it was completely embarrassing. Their offense had 180 total yards. And the Texans have now lost 5 straight games to have 1 win, 8 losses, and 1 tie on the season. Next, the Saints take care of the Rams 27-20. Andy Dalton, 260 passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Rookie receiver Chris Olave, 5 catches for 102 and a score. Tight end Jawan Johnson had a touchdown catch, and receiver Jarvis Landry also had a touchdown catch. As for Matt Stafford, 159 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, but left the game with a concussion. And Allen Robinson, 4 catches, 47 yards, and a touchdown. So the Saints get a win to go to 4-7. Andy Dalton had himself a day with 3 passing touchdowns and no turnovers. And the Saints defense got a lot of pressure on the Rams offense and got 4 sacks. And the Rams' nightmare season just continues. They definitely have the Super Bowl hangover. Their offense is very, very banged up. But now they lost Matt Stafford, their starting QB, with a concussion. And the Rams went from champs to chumps in just 1 season. The Rams have now lost 4 straight games to go to 3-7. Next, the Bills take care of the Browns, 31-23. This game was played in Detroit where the Lions play because it was snowing in Buffalo. They got 5 to 6 feet. So the NFL decided to not play the game in Buffalo and robbed us of what would have been an epic snow game. But oh well, it was played in Detroit. Josh Allen threw for 197, a touchdown, no interceptions. Running back Devin Singletary, 86 rushing yards and a touchdown. And Stephon Diggs, 4 catches, 48 yards and a touchdown. As for Browns QB Jacoby Brissett, 324 passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a fumble. As for Amari Cooper, the receiver, 8 catches, 113, and 2 scores. So the Bills bounce back, and they go to 7-3 with this win. The Bills' offense struggled in the first half, but in the second half, they started rolling. They were able to get their run game going with 171 total rushing yards. And the Bills' defense wasn't good against the run, but they shut down the Browns' run game, who is known to be lethal. And the Browns were able to pass the ball efficiently, but they struggled running the ball with just 80 total rushing yards. Browns now fall to 3-7. Next, the Ravens beat the Panthers 13-3. Lamar Jackson, 209 passing, no touchdowns, an interception, and a rushing touchdown. Demarcus Robinson, 9 catches for 128. And as for Baker Mayfield of the Panthers, 196 passing, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and Terrence Marshall Jr., 3 catches for 76 yards. The Ravens now won 4 straight games and are 7-3 on the year. And the Ravens offense struggled at times, but then they finally got it going late in the game, getting 324 total yards of offense. The Ravens defense did their thing with 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, 4 sacks, and only gave up 3 points. And the Panthers, they hung in there majority of the game until Baker threw 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter. The Panthers offense struggled with just 232 total yards. And the Panthers run game was nowhere to be found as they had 36 total rushing yards. The Panthers are now 3-8. Next, the Lions beat the Giants 31-18. Jared Goff, 165 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I almost said Jonathan Williams. Jamal Williams, 64 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 catches for 76 yards. And Daniel Jones of the Giants, 341 passing yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, 50 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. And the rookie receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson, 9 catches for 100 yards. So the Lions move to 4-6 as they pull up an upset on the road. And Jared Goff did his thing. He didn't turn the ball over, and he let his run game go off for 160 total rushing yards and 4 total rushing touchdowns. Lions now won 3 straight games and seem to be clicking. As for Daniel Jones and the Giants, Daniel Jones looked like his old self by throwing a couple interceptions, and the Giants could not run the ball. They only had 89 total rushing yards, which 50 of them came from Jones. Saquon Barkley was shut down with just 22 yards on 15 carries. The Giants fall to 7-3. Next, the Raiders beat the Broncos 22-16 in overtime. Derek Carr, 307 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Josh Jacobs, 109 rushing yards. And Devontae Adams, 7 catches, 141, and 2 scores. Russell Wilson of the Broncos, 247 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Latavius Murray had a rushing touchdown. And Cortland Sutton, 5 catches for 80 yards. So the Raiders win in OT in an absolute thriller and go to 3-7 on the year. And they much needed this game. Even though they're done, they're not making the playoffs, they're not going anywhere. They needed this win badly. They were definitely devastated the last couple of weeks, and they needed this. They swept their divisional opponents, so what more could they want? They were able to get 416 total yards of offense. Josh Jacobs himself outrushed the Broncos 109-94, and Russell Wilson and the Broncos offense, they froze in the second half as usual. And they were outscored 15-6 in that second half and in overtime. And the Broncos defense was solid all season, but got gashed in the passing game and in the running game. The Broncos now fall to 3-7. Next, we have my Cowboys beating the Vikings 40-3. Dak Prescott, 276 passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Tony Pollard, 80 rushing yards, 6 catches for 109, and 2 receiving touchdowns. Zeke Elliott had 2 rushing touchdowns on the day. And as for quarterback Kirk Cousins of the Vikings, 105 passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and a fumble. And Dalvin Cook, 72 rushing yards. So the Cowboys bounce back in a big way and dominate the Vikings to go 7-3. And I didn't expect the Cowboys to completely blow the Vikings out like this. I expected a closer game. The Cowboys offense went off for 458 total yards. And Tony Pollard had himself a day, 189 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns. And the Cowboys outrushed the Vikings 151-72. The Cowboys defense also balled out with 7 sacks, a forced fumble, and only allowed 3 points to a lethal offense. As for Kirk Cousins and the Vikings, their offense was nowhere to be found with just 232 total offensive yards, with 54 of those yards coming from the quarterback, Nick Mullins, who is the second-string quarterback on the team. So 178 total offensive yards came from Kirk and the starters, and the Vikings defense wasn't able to stop a nosebleed. Justin Jefferson was locked down by Trayvon Diggs, and the Vikings O-line was abused by the Cowboys pass rush. The Vikings now fall to 8-2 on the season after getting their 7-game win streak snapped. Next, the Bengals beat the Steelers 37-30. Joe Burrow, 355 passing, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. T. Higgins, 9 catches for 148. And Samaje Perine, the running back, he had 30 rushing yards but had 4 catches for 52 yards and 3 touchdowns. The rookie Kenny Pickett, 265 passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. Running back Najee Harris, 90 rushing yards and 2 scores. And the rookie receiver George Pickens, 4 catches, 83 yards and a touchdown. So after a tough loss to the Steelers earlier in the season, the Bengals get their revenge against their divisional rival and go to 6-4. Burrow and the Bengals were able to rack up 417 total yards of offense. And Joe Burrow, he did have 2 rough interceptions, but was able to bounce back with a couple touchdown passes. Despite the loss, the Steelers' offense had 367 total yards and no turnovers. The Steelers got their run game going again with 102 total rushing yards, However, the Steelers' defense could not step up and stop Joe Burrow and Joe Burrow's offense. Steelers are now 3-7 on the year. The next game we have here is the Chiefs beating the Chargers 30-27. Pat Mahomes, 329 passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The rookie running back Isaiah Pacheco had 107 rushing yards, and Travis Kelce, the tight end, 6 catches for $115 and 3 scores. Justin Herbert of the Chargers, 280 passing, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Austin Eckler, 83 rushing yards and a touchdown. And receiver Josh Palmer, 8 catches for 106 and 2 scores. So the Chiefs sweep their divisional rival, and they moved to 8-2 on the season. They now won their 4th straight game, and this was another classic between these two teams. Whenever the Chiefs and Chargers play, just expect a high-scoring back-and-forth game. That's an absolute thriller. And as for Pat Mahomes, he's just ridiculous. In my opinion, he's the MVP right now. Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense had a total of 492 yards. Travis Kelce was absolutely unstoppable this game. Just made the Chargers' defense look like a Pop Warner team's defense. And Pat Mahomes and Kelce are arguably the best duo in the NFL right now, with 1:46 left in the game and 2 timeouts, down 27-23, which was too much time on the clock for Mahomes. He's able to go downfield and throw the game-winning touchdown catch to Kelce. Just shows that there's no lead safe when Mahomes has the ball. And the Chiefs' defense stepped up with 5 sacks, a forced fumble, and an interception that sealed the game. As for Justin Herbert and the Chargers, they lost a close one after having a solid performance. They were able to convert a 3rd and 18 with a little over 2 minutes left. Herbert hit a big completion, which eventually led to the go-ahead touchdown. The Chargers offense had 395 total yards, but unfortunately the Chargers defense couldn't stop Mahomes on their final drive. The Chargers now go to 5-5. The final game was the Niners beating the Cardinals 38-10 in Mexico City on Monday night. Jimmy G had 228 passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. George Kittle, 4 catches, 84 yards, and 2 scores. Deebo Samuel, 7 catches, 57 yards, and a rushing touchdown. And Brandon Ayuk, 2 catches, 20 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Colt McCoy of the Arizona Cardinals, 218 passing, no touchdowns, and interception. Trace McSorley, 59 passing yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Greg Dortch, 9 catches for 103. And DeAndre Hopkins, 9 catches for 91 yards. So the Niners beat up on their divisional rival in Mexico City and go to 6-4. Jimmy G and the Niners offense went off for 387 total yards and no turnovers. The Niners were up 17-10 at half, but then in the second half, they steamrolled the Cardinals and were able to outscore them 21-0. And the Niners, they were able to run for 159 total rushing yards. The Niners could give a lot of teams problems coming up in this season. It's a team that you pretty much don't want to face, don't want to see them in the playoffs. As for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray was missing in action again, so they got Colt McCoy to get the start. Colt McCoy, the Cardinals offense was so bad that in came Trace McSorley, who was the 3rd string quarterback, and they couldn't do anything against this Niners defense. They combined for 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And the Cardinals' run game was just shut down with 67 total rushing yards. The Cardinals' defense was absolutely shredded by Jimmy G and company. And I doubt the Cardinals' offense would have been that much better with Kyler Murray playing as the quarterback. They probably would have gotten 10 more points at most. And the Cardinals continue to struggle as they are now 4-7 on the season. So that was a lot for the Week 11 recap around the NFL. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you follow me on my Instagram page. And do what you can to like, share, and promote my content. Thank you all, and have a great night.